Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Starting Actor. I am Vinnie. And on this channel, what I talk about is the real world of acting and being an actor starting out in the industry. So if that's something that's of interest to you, consider subscribing. So today, I have another good friend of mine, Justin Castillo, who is joining me. And I want to talk a little bit about joining and being an actor while having another job, while working in another industry, and how we kind of get ourselves to a point we learn how to act and we enjoy it and we do that type of thing. So Justin is one of those people just like me. Justin, welcome to The Starting Actor.
Thank you so much for having me, Vinnie, man. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So Justin and I are fellow students. We work together at the Actor Studio of Orange County here in the Los Angeles area, and we have worked and we have played together a little bit in class, and yeah, I've just been really looking forward to it. So Justin, first of all, for those of us that are watching that don't know you, tell me a little bit about yourself. What's your background? Where'd you grow up, and how did you make it to Southern California? Because that's where we find ourselves now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm originally from right outside of Richmond, Virginia. Grew up only child, single mother. I didn't know my dad a lot growing up, and he would come and visit me, and I got to know him. And he's from out here. Well, originally from Guatemala, but his whole family's out here. So there was always that thing of me, you know, when I was little, I used to come visit him. And when I did, I mean, I just fell in love with the beaches and fell in love with California. And I mean, coming from, Virginia, it's just a completely different world. So I wound up going to Virginia Tech, go Hokies, for interior design and architecture. And it just really gave me an appreciation for design, a really big mind for how things work. So I came out here in 2015. I had just felt like I conquered Virginia. Like I did everything I wanted to do, graduated, went to school. I was done with it, and I wanted bigger and better things. And I originally came out to LA to be a designer. I wanted to be an interior designer. Like that's what I went to school for, and really just to get to know my dad better. And I got out here, man, and I laughed because like everybody and their mom, like my Uber driver was trying to be a driver, right? Or trying to be an actor. And I was like, I just want to be a designer, So I've been here since 2015. I quit my job, came out here, everything. And then slowly but surely, man, long story short, I started out, I've always been in sales. I've been in sales for like the last almost 10 years. I was just, I wasn't deemed to be a designer. I'm just too personable and can't sit still. So I got to be a traveling sales rep. So I got into Toastmasters. Toastmasters led to improv led to voiceover led to acting. So that's kind of the short version of it.
Wow. Toastmasters, say that again. Toastmasters to improv to voiceover to acting. Wow. That's an interest. I did not expect. I didn't actually know that story. So that is really neat. So voiceover. So we actually crossed paths. Well, at least I didn't know that we crossed paths back in the day. Do you ever remember meeting me back in the day? We went to school to Del Mar Media.
Del Mar, yeah. I don't remember seeing you there because I remember, I don't know if we were in like foundational classes or not, but I love Del Mar. It was great. Bun and Bunny are awesome, and man, being up on stage, being behind the microphone, being behind the camera, like there was something about it that just made me come to life.
Yeah.
And I'm glad, I wish I would have found it earlier in life, but I think if I would have came to it earlier, I wouldn't appreciate it because that background of interior design helped me to appreciate the details of things. And that's when I really started to and then doing all this personal development. I've done a lot of personal development programs. That helped me realize acting started to choose me later in life. So man. So I mean, it's been a fun journey.
That is very interesting. So you talk about discovering the passion for acting or being in front of the camera, and I think that's something I experienced that myself, coming from a corporate America background and working in software industry, stumbled upon it, and but it's not an uncommon thing. Just there are some people out there that just from birth they know they want to be actors, but there's a lot of people like you and I that we just kind of stumble into it, or find it by accident and discover that we love it. So very, very interesting. So, so you mentioned, I was going to ask you what your day job was, but is today, so what do you do? You're a sales dude?
Yeah, so I'm a specification representative. I work with a company called EB Bradley. We're a hardware company. We're a distributor, so we carry like over 100 different products. I work a lot with like laminate, solid surface, or like countertop materials. And I work specifically with architects and designers.
Yeah, so you're still kind of sort of in the same space.
Right. Yeah, that's how. And with my job, they don't buy directly from us, so I'm not like a hardcore sales guy. It's more of like I'm a brand ambassador. I more promote our products to get them to use it on our projects. So.
Okay. Well, interesting. So going back to acting then, so what is, as you've come through these ranks, through the improv, through the voiceover, and now in acting, where do you see yourself going? What's your goal? Where do you want to go with this thing?
Well, man, there were moments, right? Like there were moments along the journey, and I want to be on screen. I want to be in movies. I want to be in TV shows, because I feel like, with my Tsunami Healing podcast and the message and the inspiration that I bring, that's kind of the biggest stage I can be on, is on screen, right? In your homes, in the theaters. You see these actors and they have platforms. And my journey is to become the best version of myself, to be able to share this with people. But a couple of things, I'll give you a couple moments. So one of them was, I was meeting with Everett Oliver. He's one of the best booth directors, voiceover coaches in the industry. And I was meeting with him, and he was like, "What are you passionate about?" And I looked at him and I was like, I don't know, because I was into so many things. And he was like, I think you need to be on camera. He's like, you don't need to be behind the microphone. He's like, you're hiding behind the microphone. And it's like, I think you need to be seen. And that changed everything for me. And I was like, you know what? I think you're right. Another moment was, I was listening to a podcast. His name is escaping me right now, but he plays on Walking Dead, and he has the tiger. I can't think of his name right now. I know him. I love him.
The guy, yeah.
Corey Payton. His name's Corey Payton. And he said it, and he said he does voiceover. He plays the big role on Walking Dead, and he's done a lot of movies and other stuff. But he said he had a fan come up to him at a Comic-Con, and the fan said to him, he's like, "Man, thank you for everything that you did with this particular character in the show he was playing." He's like, "It helped me get through some dark times in my life where I was losing my parents. I was depressed." And he said the reason he does acting and entertainment is it's for those people you're never going to meet. Because people need that creative entertainment to help them heal, help them go through something. So it may be the hundreds of people that, kind of like with Chadwick Boseman, right? Like we just lost Black Panther. I'll think of all the people he never met, but how many lives he touched. And that is the platform. I mean, that's the biggest platform you can get. So that's the direction that I'm heading.
Oh, very interesting. Yeah, as a platform. So, man, you covered a lot of ground there. I mean, I too was affected as a younger man in my, teens and 20s. I remember that same thing. For me, it was music. There was a few bands that really affected me, and I actually had a chance to meet some of the band members back in the day, and I shared that same story. And I'm sure a million other fans of theirs, because they were, they probably heard that same story over and over again. But it is a great platform to, whether you want to or not, you are affecting and informing, teaching others. So it's great. So for you, you mentioned podcasts. So Tsunami Healing is something that you do. So tell us about that, and keep going.
Yeah. Real quick, and before that, I want to give you two quotes. So Everett Oliver gave me this one, and I forget the actor that said it, but I posted it on my Instagram. And it says that I'm paraphrasing it. I have to go back and find the direct one, but it said, "Acting is the healing of the soul," and that really touched me. He's like, all the fame and money and materials, he's like, that doesn't connect with you, but he's like, this does. He's like, acting is discovery of the healing the soul. And then another one was by our professor, Sonia. And she said it recently in class, and it really moved me. And she said, if you can bring a character to life, that's how you heal people, right? If you can bring that to life, that's how you're going to be able to touch people in the hearts. So with Tsunami Healing, long story short with that, I originally started out, I just wanted to interview interior designers. There wasn't a podcast that I had found that does that from the point or perspective of a heterosexual male at that. That is a person of color. So it was very distinct, right? I took that to one of my friends because she was sitting on the board at the time for the American Society of Interior Designers. This is a big national public interior design company or organization. They said no. They were like, no, we don't want to take control of this, because they were like, we want you to have full creative control of it. And I recently just interviewed her. Yeah, huh? This was like 7-8 years ago. So I didn't think about it. I came here to California. I saw this guy named Sam Crowley speak on a stage. His podcast is called Every Day is Saturday. And he's like one of the #1 motivational podcasts out there that you probably never heard of. But he is backed by Les Brown. And he's on iTunes. I just started, I bought his program, started a podcast. And when I started it, like, I just kind of did it for me. Like, I just wanted to talk about stuff. I was like, I want to talk about all the stuff I like. And I was like, well, I can't have 7 different shows. I can't have a show about acting, a show about MMA, a show about wrestling, a show about, like, I didn't, how can I talk about all these things but still have a message and let it be one show? And it kind of created itself, man. I really do say, I think like God gave it to me. I'm going to talk about all these things, all these creative things, acting, voiceover, the horror industry, video games. But like, how are all these things and all these people in the industry, whatever creative thing that they do, how is that healing and therapeutic for people? So that was the twist that I put on it. And that allows me to basically interview anybody I want to, but then talk about how is it affecting you and the people around you? Right.
Wow.
So,
yeah. So I like how you tied those two things together, because I was going to ask you if you yourself have ever had an experience where you felt there was a catharsis, you felt healed as a result of playing a character, or in voiceover, whichever that you've done. Have you had that experience yourself?
Yes, absolutely. One quick example is I got to be in a horror movie trailer with a really cool guy. His name's Larry Bones. He's the CEO of Boneyard Effects, and he let me play a vampire that lets people into this club. And dude, getting into that makeup, getting into the look of it all, I felt like I got to release like this inner demon inside of me, right? And his name was Damon. So like, he doesn't really say anything, but like the story that I put behind it and letting people into the club, I was like, yeah, dude, I get to be this vampire on screen. So that was a lot of fun. That was a good one. I mean, for me, I think the biggest ones, like the biggest, most cathartic ones, was I got to be a scare actor at Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. And to be able to scare people and get paid for it, that was the thing that kind of put me in the horror industry.
Yeah, so help me out with scare actor. I know that you and I have talked about this before, but what is scare and scare actor and
Yeah, so out here in Southern California, they have these big, huge haunt events, right? Like every major theme park has their own event. So like there's Universal Studios, there's Knott's Berry Farm. They have their own version, which is Knott's Scary Farm or Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. They have these mazes.
When you say a haunt, okay, yeah. So when you say a haunt, is it like during the Halloween time, or is it only during Halloween time?
Yeah. It's usually from like September to November, so it's like those months around Halloween.
Okay.
And yeah, so they have these mazes, they have these scare zones, and then they have the actors or the people that are in the mazes that jump out and scare you, and that's what I got to do. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you get all made up and costumed and so on.
Yeah, and it's mostly people like in their teens or in their early 20s. But when I came out here and did it, I was 25, 26. And I mean, you can be however old you want to. There's older people that in there that are do it. Most of the people like at Universal, they're not super into Halloween. It's kind of like a job to them, like because they're actors. They're just taking a gig just to get money. But there are some people out there in the haunt, and most of the haunt industry, they're hardcore. Like they were raised here in Southern California. They love everything about Halloween, and they go to every single event. They scare every year. And they like live it and breathe it. And that's kind of what I fell into once I got into the industry. So yeah, it's
that's interesting.
Super fun.
Yeah, I had the same, a similar experience. I've certainly not been involved in the scare side of acting, but when I first moved here, I realized it's Southern California. that Halloween is a bit of a different thing here. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I actually came from before I lived here. I lived in Honolulu, Hawaii, and there, Halloween is also very different. It's completely different than California, but
Really?
It's almost like New Year's Eve, where it's New Year's Eve, and then everybody dresses whatever closet fetish that you didn't know that they had. Just some very strange things that you saw in the streets of Honolulu, but a huge party, and from sundown to sunup, it's just fireworks and drinking and lots of fun. Anyway, so
That's awesome.
but it's because now I'm in SoCal, and it's also very important. When I grew up, from where I was, Halloween was one night a year, and that was it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
interesting. So you mentioned, let's see, I want to go back to your podcast a little bit, because one of the things, as I was looking you up, researching your background a little bit before we got started today, 203 episodes.
Yeah.
So how long? Wow, dude, first of all, congratulations, because
Thank
that is an amazing number of episodes.
Thank you so much.
A lot of people. So how long have you been doing it?
Yeah, so like I said, I got that program and I started the show in March of 2018. March 10th, I believe,
Wow.
2018 was March 8th. March 8th was the first episode that came out.
So it is August 2020 right now. So that's only 2 years and a bit for 200 episodes.
Yeah. So I got a little bit obsessive and crazy with it. Man, it was like I said, it was a journey. Like, the show evolved. I mean, if you go back and listen to early episodes, they're much different from the episodes now.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to meet so many amazing people. I've had so many cool experiences where I was interviewing people backstage or in the VIP space, or it's taken me kind of how it started, man. Like I said, it was me just talking. And then I started meeting people, having people on the show, started building a network and a community.
Yeah.
And it started, getting more and more defined. And the thing that really took it off is I started getting into these Comic-Con conventions. So that I was like, wow, like, this is really cool. I never even thought to do that, but I started getting into like all the different kinds of Comic-Cons. And so, I was a little disappointed, because this year I was going to start branching out more. I was going to start covering MMA events, music festivals, and then whatever else, like, events I could get credentials for. But obviously, COVID happened, and we had to kind of reposition a little bit. But that actually was a great thing, because then I opened up the Patreon. So what Tsunami Healing is basically I invite all these cool people onto the show: actors, directors, voiceover artists, scare actors, video game streamers, like all these different kinds of people from all walks of life. I've had wrestlers on there, MMA fighters, so it's super cool.
Wow.
And like, whatever creative thing they do, we talk about how that's been healing, therapeutic for them and the people around them. But what I noticed is, like, when I was doing interviews about my own life, my ratings spiked. So I was like, oh, okay, we have something here. I was like, yes, people enjoy the cool, like, celebrity guests, but they want to know about me. So then what I did is I opened up Tsunami Uncut, where I just talk about, it's mostly just me talking about myself and my life, but that's on the Patreon. So you can only find that on my Patreon, and that's like a membership. It's only $3 a month, and I have a lot of free episodes there too, but that's a fun thing, because now I have two sides. I have the uncut version where I can invite people on. We can talk about whatever kind of crazy stuff we want to, or just talk about my life. And then I have still the original Tsunami Healing show, where it's celebrity guests and covering really fun, cool events. So I have like this cool little dynamic where I can kind of just get to have fun with all of it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Lots. So when you mentioned, again, covered a lot of ground, man. Jeez.
Yeah.
So just two things I want to follow up on. One, the Comic-Con. I want to know more about how that was. That a thing that you just decided to do one day, or did it come as a result of the podcast? That's one. And I forgot the other one. So let's just go with that one.
Okay. Yeah. So man, I coming from Virginia, I had always been like really fascinated by Comic-Con in San Diego. I was like, man, that's like the mecca for like a nerd, or for like entertainment, really, because like it just kept getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And I mean, watching it from the East Coast, I was like, I want to go there one day. And I mean, obviously, we have New York, but it's a different thing. That's like the only thing that could compete with it. So I was like, man, you know what? I was like, one day in San Diego, I want to go to Comic-Con. Well, my first ever Comic-Con that I went to was in Richmond, Virginia. They had it at our convention center.
Oh.
And I mean, dude, everybody was there. Like at that time, Breaking Bad was huge, so they had some of the cast from there. They had some big name wrestlers like Dave Bautista and like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And they had like the Green Power Ranger. I mean, I grew up on Power Rangers, you know, so like, you know, Jason David Frank, and he was awesome. And I was like, okay, so like there's like no lines at this thing. I'm sitting like front row at every one of these panels, and I'm just falling in love with it, right? Like it's awesome. So I'm thinking in my mind, I was like, okay, like I can imagine San Diego, but it's like 10 times bigger. Long story short, I get out here to California. My improv instructor, he's super into Comic-Con. He goes like every year. He got me tickets to WonderCon. So that was my first convention out here, was WonderCon in Anaheim back in 2018. I loved it. He did a great, thank you, Devin, for preparing me. He prepared me mentally of how to deal with Comic-Con because it's very overwhelming. He started me out there. And then after those free tickets, man, I got my first credentials to Comic-Con Revolution, which is out here in Ontario in Inland Empire.
Yeah.
And then it was Midsummer Scream, and then it was WonderCon, and then like I started getting into everything for free, man. And then
so what do you,
was super cool.
Are you doing hosting?
Yes and no. So like when I go to these conventions, I try to interview as many people there as I like, you know, can come in contact with, and then I usually do a review of the show. So it kind of started as like it was just a natural like interest, and then but the cool thing about like these comic conventions is like everybody in the entertainment industry that you would ever think of or ever want to meet, they're there. Like I met Andrea Romano, who, for all my voiceover people out there, she's like she's like the OG of like voice acting, like directors and coaches and managers. Nobody knew who she was. I did. I walked up to her, talked to her for like 10 minutes. She was super sweet, gave me so many directions and so many resources. And then like you got people like Kevin Conroy. I met Neil Ross. You got like the cast of Walking Dead, the cast of, you know, NBC Superstore and The Office. Like they're all there, man. And then like you got the video game streamers, and then you got the haunt people, and like, you know, I saw like Gabriel Iglesias, and like everybody's there, dude. Like any and everybody's there. Like it's the mecca for entertainment media nerdom, and you know, we all love it. So like, yeah, man, it was kind of just a combination of, yes, my show helped me out, I was interested in it, and it just became fun. So
wow, that's great. I envy the involvement that you've been able to in the industry, right? To partake and to really absorb yourself in that whole. It's because it is a business, right? And
real quick, I'll say this, man, too, real quick before we go any further, is I kept asking, like, when I was at Del Mar, I'd be like, okay, where can I meet agents? Where can I meet directors? Where can I meet other actors and like managers? And they kept saying like, yes, you can go to like what do you call it? The film premieres.
Film festivals.
You can go to film festivals, but like you got to get invited and you got to get a ticket. So I saw Comic-Con as like the quickest, easiest way to meet everybody in the industry that I'd ever want to talk to or ask questions. So if you want to meet people and like network in the industry, go to Comic-Cons because like they're all there.
Interesting advice. Wow. Yeah, I never would have thought. I've never been one to be in that space, but interesting. Oh, wow. Well, so there was one episode that I caught of, well, I've listened to more than one episode of Tsunami Healing, but there's one episode that I caught where you were talking about Horrorveld. Mm-hmm. And I came across my own name. I don't even know if you remember this, but you interviewed Olivia Morales.
Yeah.
Back in the day last year. And so how do you know Olivia? I just wanted to say hi to Olivia first of all.
Yeah, so it's a small world. So I got to work with her on the Horrorveld movie, the independent horror movie I was in with Larry Bones. She was one of the vampires. So when she came to me and she was like, how do you know Vinnie? And I was like, what? I was like, I go to acting school with him. And so, yeah, man, it's just a small world. And so, yeah, I had her on the show, man. And I think that was one of the first times she'd ever been on a podcast. And dude, we just had a great time. Like, we loved it. She got to tell her story. And I mean, that's the beauty of networking. That's the beauty of being in the industry, is because, like, at some point, like, it all starts to cross over. And then, like, you know, we're all just helping each other out.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Justin, it has been a pleasure chatting with you today. I appreciate. How can we get a hold of you? If anybody wants to book you or contact you online, where can we find you?
Absolutely, man. Yeah, we are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon, just at Tsunami Healing. It's patreon.com/Tsunami Healing. And then you can find the Tsunami Healing Show on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. So yeah, and then if you have any questions, you want to do a Q&A, because I'm about to start doing some Twitch stuff soon, just email us at wavehealernation@gmail.com.
Great. I'll make sure I'll put links to all those things in the show notes. Justin, thank you very much for your time, man. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in class and one of these days on set.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Vinnie. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, man.